Hi everyone. So we are continuing the IAM basics in this video. In the previous video, we have seen how to create a user, and we just created a test user in the previous video. And we were also able to log in using this user into the AWS Management Console. Uh, so there are other resources which you can create in IAM that are roles, policies, and groups. So let's see these one by one. So groups are basically like normal groups, nothing to explain much here. So basically you can add multiple users in a group and then give permission to a group. So all the users which will be part of that group will be getting those permissions. So as simple as that. So for example, let's create a group. So first group, let's say, and let's just create an empty group first of all. So the basic idea why we usually create groups is we can just add permission to a group, and every user which will be part of this group will be getting this permission. So now let's say we are assigning administrator access to this group, and let's add this just for our reference. So we are adding admin in the name of the group, and we just click on create group. Now you can see group is created, and if we open this, check the permissions, you can see this group is having administrator access permission. So if we create one more user, let's say test2, next, and now in this case we will be choosing this first option, that is add user to group. So in this case, uh, this test2 user will be getting the permission of this group, means administrator access it will be getting, not directly but via the group. And you can also choose set permission boundary. Permission boundary is just like blacklisting some of the permissions, means you can specifically specify that uh, this user should not be able to uh, perform this operation. So that is kind of blacklisting specific permissions. So now this user is part of our first group, this group. And now if you check this, so I have just opened this test2 user, and you can see this, the permission of the group has inherited into this user. So this is the benefit of creating groups. So you just need to create a group with all the permissions you need, and means you don't need to separately add permissions for all the users by going into each user one by one. That is the benefit. Some interesting facts about group are, let me tell you, groups can only contain users. So groups cannot contain other groups. So basically that what that means is you can only add users to the groups. Groups cannot be added to another groups. And users are actually not required to be part of a single group. Users can be part of multiple groups. So in other words, a single user can be part of multiple groups, and that particular user will be having permissions of both the groups. Means if some permissions are means let's say both the groups are having permissions of reading S3 bucket, and one of the group is having permission of administrator access. So the user which is part of both of these group will be having permission of administrator access as well as the reading S3 bucket. So the permissions will be combined as well. That's the main idea. Uh, so that's pretty much it. Sorry, for the groups. Now let's see policies. Any question, Priyanshu? Uh, so now let's see policies. Policies are just JSON documents. Like these are some of the policies which are default policies created by AWS. These are also known as AWS managed policies. So let's say, for example, let's see this administrator access policy. So this is the policy which allows every access to every resource within the AWS account. And you can see the description as well here. Provides full access to AWS service and resources. So this is a managed policy created by AWS itself by default. Means we have not created this. This was created by AWS by default. Now we can create our own policies. Let's say we want to create a policy allowing creation of EC2. Or let's say if we want to allow uh, a user to create another user. So for that, we will be choosing IAM. Then we will be choosing right. And here we need to choose create user. We selected create user. And let's also give list permissions, list users, list policies. Okay, just leave this for now. We just we have just added this permission for creating user. And then we can specify a specific role, means which user can create uh, this user, but we can also specify star. And yeah, I think that is good. Next. Right. Policy name, you can leave this empty as well if you want to, or you can give test as well here. Let's give create user policy. Next. Valid characters are required. I think we cannot use space. We cannot use backslash. Okay. Okay, so that was not optional basically. So now if you see, uh, this particular policy allows to create a user, and star means any user can be created. So now if we give our user this permission. Let's say test2 user. Let's remove this permission first of all, or let's create a new user, test3. Next, and we will be attaching policies. Oh, okay. Create user policy. Next, create user. And now if we check, this user has permission to create user. So this is basically, the policy is basically just a JSON document, nothing else. So this is kind of a definition, means what are the permissions for this particular policy. And if we create security credentials for this group, security credential means access keys. And here we need to choose CLI. I understand. Create access key. So using this, because we have not provided console access to this user, we cannot directly log in to as this user. So that's why we have created access keys. Now we need to save them somewhere. And AWS creds for test3 user dot txt. Copy this, paste, copy secret key, paste. And oh, what is going on? Yeah, so this is the access key and this is secret access key. Now for logging in to this user using this access keys, you first need to install AWS CLI. That can be installed using sudo apt install. If you don't have, it is not there in this system, so that's why we need to install this. AWS CLI is not there. Linux. Copy this, paste. It is downloaded. Unzip AWS CLI. And it is extracted. So it is installed. AWS minus minus help. Sorry, AWS help, not minus minus help. Yes, okay. So it is installed. Now for configuring the credentials, AWS configure is the command. We press enter. So it is asking for AWS access key ID. Access key ID is this. Threads, copy, paste, again, copy, paste here, enter. Region name you can leave empty. Now I think internet connection is not stable. Okay, okay. So now if you again run AWS configure minus minus list, or not like that list, so you can see uh, this user is configured with these access keys. Now we can just run sts AWS sts. What is the command? Let me check. Sts get caller identity. Sts get minus caller minus identity tt. Yes, okay. So we are we were able to log in as test3 user. So this get caller entity is just like who am I, okay? This is similar to who am I, which we have in Unix. So for AWS, this is the who am I, just for means simplicity. It is not who am I, okay? Uh, and you can read help of this as well by just uh, entering this, copy this, paste here, help. So this will tell you more details. Returns the details about the IAM user or role whose credentials are being used to call the operation. So who am I? Uh, so we were able to log in as the newly created user. Now this user has permission to create other users. So let's try that. Try doing that. So for that, again, if you don't know the command, you can just again use help. For example, I don't remember any command, so I always use help, IAM help. So these are all the commands which you can use. Create user we need. So copy that. after IAM just paste what you want to do again means. So I don't know actually know means what are the parameters I need to pass for this command. So again you can use help. So now the parameters which are without the brackets that are mandatory, and the parameters which are with brackets that are optional. Okay, and you can see the details here. What means each parameter is explained here. So we just need to pass this username for creating user because others are optional, and username, let's say test4, enter. So this we were able to create a user test4, and if we check our console, reload, test4 user is created. And why we were able to create this? Because test3 user has permission to create user. We just provided this permission. Otherwise, if we remove the permission, now let me show that as well. If we remove this permission, okay, now this test3 user is not having the permission to create user. And if we again try to create a user with the same command, uh, open up. Yes, okay. Let's say test5, enter. Now we will be getting error. You can see access denied when calling user operation. This is not authorized to perform IAM create user on resource this because no identity based allow. Okay, yeah. So you got the point. If user is not having the permission to create user, you will be getting error like this. So that is the main basics of IAM policies, why they are important. Uh, that's it for this video. Let's continue in next video. Thank you.